Good morning, my friends. It's so great to see your faces again. I know everybody else on the podcast can't see your faces, but that's okay. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Louise. I'm the behind the scenes producer, but today I'm your pod mod. And my guest experts are, of course, Ammie Williams, the incredible edible Ammie Williams, and the flying Christine Steele. I don't know. I don't know where that was headed.
Did you just call me edible?
I think you did.
Yes. I don't know what happened. Listen, the only thing that rhymes with incredible is edible, and I got stuck. We can try that one again.
No, I love it.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. We're fully past the holidays, and how did you all fare?
I'm still recovering for sure. I was telling you guys before we started that I'm officially on winter break. It's early January. I'm on winter break until I run out of money. So that is my plan. It's not a great plan.
When you launch your next product line or your next launch, that's when you've ran out of money.
A little bit, yeah. That's okay.
Support the starving artist.
Yes, exactly.
Christine, how about you?
I actually have a tree from Ammie that I purchased, and I proudly
so sweet.
Yeah. So I am. I'm looking forward to your next launch so that I can, have more things at my house. So thank you for that.
That's adorable.
Thank you. I don't ever see orders come in. Like I don't see it in the moment, but when I'm packing, I'm like, oh my God, Christine. And it was really sweet. So thank you for that.
That is so great. So today's focus is convention. The convention savings club for the CCSA just opened, which means that you can pre-book your ticket at a lower price and pay for it in installments. But if you don't know what convention is, let's talk about that first. The CCSA hosts a convention once a year. That is a meeting of all of the studio owners and then all of our suppliers and all of our teachers and all of our influencers like Ammie, who all come together to be potheads in one place. So Ammie, you've been to convention how many times?
Oh man, that's such a hard question that I should have prepped for. 6 or 7 or 8? Under 10, I'll say that. Comfortably under 10.
I was waiting for like 25, but you're
No. I've only been in the industry for 14 years, and my bosses didn't send me at first for quite a while, so.
That's fair. Yeah. And Christine, wasn't this your first year?
First one in person, yeah. It was amazing. It was overwhelming, and it was so fun because everyone's like, oh, we haven't, we're so happy to be back in person. And I'm like, this is my first one. So I didn't have anything to compare it to. So I loved it. It was overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of, not troll party, but kind of close. Like we're all going to go here. We're all going to go there. We're all going to.
Yeah. Did anybody cry or did you cry, Christine, at convention at all?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. My first one, I was so overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed and meeting everyone. I would just have to go back to my room and stare at the wall. And next thing you know, you're just kind of gently weeping because I'm never around that many people. And yeah, it's a good overwhelm, but it's definitely overwhelming.
I think they're really fun.
I love that moment that you just shared. That was so vulnerable.
Yeah. I'm crying all the time. I'm crying right now.
I think the really fun part is that meeting somebody, and I know this sounds really weird, but I remember when I first met, I roomed with Pepper this year, and then when I first met her in person, I'm like, oh my goodness, you're so tall. And I think that's when you look online, we only see our face and usually our chat, that's it. So I was like, oh my goodness, there's people. And then one time I met Erica, and I was like, oh, you're a lot shorter than I expected.
You're tiny.
It's just so funny that yeah, that was kind of fun for me. I know it's a new game, but I was like, how tall are you in person?
It's like online dating a little bit where it's you don't really know what you're going to get until you show up.
And then I also was what size did you think I was going to be?
This has gone really sideways, so I'm going to get us. I did not expect how tall people were to be the thing that surprised you. That's my favorite. I think I was surprised by the size of the convention. I didn't expect, what were there, 12 classrooms and then the exhibit hall and then the silent auction. I mean, it's expansive. It was a lot of stuff. And then the amount of classes that were offered kind of surprised me too. I kind of thought we would all just be in 1 or 2 classes and it would be 100 people in one and 100 people in the other, but there were 10 classes on at any given time. What was your favorite class that you caught this year, Ammie?
So
You can say your own class.
famously, no, I got really sick at convention. I got some sort of like stomach flu literally the night before everything started. I made it through my pre-con and then I got really, really sick. So I didn't get to see any other class but my own. But I heard a lot of great things about the classes. I know Bree's and Teresa's, I heard good things about, but I mean, it was almost like I wasn't at convention this year, unfortunately. So I'm going to pat that question over to Christine to answer because I don't think I have a good answer for you.
That's fair. Yeah. Christine, what was your favorite class that you attended this year? And you can say your own.
Nope. I was on a panel, but that was fun. But no, there's so many. There's honestly so many. I think it was a little overwhelming as a first timer because there was so many. I didn't know which one to pick and I didn't want to be wrong. So I think that was kind of overwhelming for me. I definitely learned that next year I'll probably do more of the business classes in person because the techniques are great, but I feel that like you can follow along with that later. That makes sense?
Yes.
So I learned that real quick. But however, that being said, the air dry clay blew my mind. I love that class. Like I was so impressed with the consistency of the clay and I never would have got that without attending it. So I know that sounds kind of weird.
No, I love
myself.
I love that. Are you going to introduce it like maybe in summer camp or in your classes?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't decided on how I want to do it, but yes, I want to. And I feel really bad. It's Activia's yogurt that's on it.
Yeah. No, it is.
It was Jamie Lee Curtis.
It's Activia, but it's spelled differently, and it's Ruthie who taught your class.
Yes, she was amazing, and I also was really appreciative of that. It was not only a class that you learned how to use air dry clay and like make a little dog or cat, but she also was really good with business stuff too. She went over a subscription box, which I also she did really well with showing us her presentation. She even was like, hey, the company has ideas that you can use for this box. So you don't have to even, and I was like, did you just make things easier for me? Like, I love that. And I think that was really fun too. So that I was blown away with not only the consistency of the clay, like air dry clay, the learning about the subscription box and all that kind of stuff. Like it was just a really nice class. Like I was really impressed with that. And then of course,
yeah, I love hearing that. And not to cut you off, but I love hearing that, especially because I'm on the board now. I sat in on a lot of the meetings after convention and like in between classes. And Ruthie spoke up in one of the meetings and said she wanted to do like an additional activities kind of packet for us. You know, we do like the quarterly, what are they called? When we release the spring patterns and stuff like that.
Guides.
Yes, thank you. She wants to do an extra guide for the CCSA. And we were all like so excited because her class, people came out of her class so jazzed and they like loved it. So yeah, that's really good to hear that you liked it too.
And if you need me to get it first so that I can look over it, I'm not
tester.
I'm not mad.
I love it. Do you remember what kind of air dry clay it was?
White.
Oh, I asked because have either of you ever used the Amico's air dry clay X15?
I don't think so.
It smells like chicken nuggets. So I just wanted to see if your air dry clay also smelled like chicken nuggets or if that's not an air dry clay thing.
I can't remember what it smelled like.
We used it in summer camp last year and all the kids were like, are we eating today too? And I was like, no, it's just the clay and it smells like that.
That's fantastic.
All right, that joke didn't land. We'll cut that out. And
no, I'm sad that I didn't smell my clay. Like,
yeah, I'm just thinking about chicken nuggets now.
You open the bag and like the whole room smelled like chicken nuggets. It was like,
I really feel like it was the company that she came from. Like I remember it had it was yellow and white, so I think it was the same. I'm not sure.
It was her company's place. Yeah. So Ammie, you have attended many conventions, but you've also taught at many conventions. Do you have a favorite class from your past repertoire of teaching that you were like, this was the best class I taught?
I'm really proud of all the lettering classes I've taught because I get a lot of people who come in and they're really nervous or they're like, I can't do this. I don't have good handwriting, whatever. And by the end, we've got something like that looks really great. So I've done lettering as a pre-con. I've done it as, just like a regular hour and a half long class. And each time I'm super stoked on like everybody's final product. Like it just works. And it's nice to see like someone at the beginning of class be like, I'm bad at this. And then at the end, they're like, oh my God, I did this. So I would say that's my favorite. Yeah, the business classes are always fun, but there's something about like leaving with a tangible something.
Yeah. And I think lettering is so hard because there's so many factors, right? Like, do you use a squeeze bottle? Do you use a flowy brush? Do you pre-write it ahead of time? Do you freehand it? Like, just starting can be daunting. So that's a really great offer.
Yeah.
I know. I think Christine, you had mentioned being a first-time person coming to convention, it was hard to decide what classes to take. Did you feel like the written descriptions of the classes helped you make that decision, or was it information overload beforehand?
I'm going to say yes and no on that because reading the descriptions got me excited for it, but a lot of times the classes offered more. So because go figure, as business owners, we start getting up there and we start talking, and then it might go to a different direction, which is really good information. So yes, I got excited about the classes from the description, but then I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is even more than what I thought it was going to be. So I'm so happy I was here. And it made me, almost have like, fear of missing out on the other classes that I was like, well, what else did they talk about? So I kind of wish that not only I wish there was a way that we could record them too, because I want to see all of them. See that there. So that's
I can say from a like instructor's perspective, and Louise, jump in and tell me if I'm a little wrong here, but to peel back the curtain a little bit, we submit those explanations of what the class is about sometimes before we've even written the class. And so I think there are moments when you're in the middle of like actually make the presentation where you're like, oh, it's actually, we're covering what I said we were going to cover, but I'm actually adding all this other stuff I never really considered at the time. So it's like sometimes the blessings are blessings. Sometimes the write-ups are a blessing and a curse.
That makes sense. And I also think it was hard too because the classes, there's so many classes and a lot of them are going on at the same time. I got really excited about Erica's class because it is hard for us to take time for ourselves and kind of check in with ourselves. And I was looking forward to that. But I think Stacey's class is going on at the same time. And I feel like it was hard to choose between good information too. So,
did y'all ever go to Warped Tour? Are we the same age?
We are the same age. I did not go to Warped Tour.
Because it's the same thing. Like you stand in front of the board and you see the lineup and you're like, oh, I want to see that band, but they're playing at the same time as that band. And you're either like leaving one early to get to the other, and it's chaos. But it reminds me of that every time you have to sit down to like choose your classes. Because it's like, what band do I want to see over the other band? Yeah.
Yeah. Who's on the main stage and who's going to do a better like improv set?
Yeah.
So did you guys, so since it was the first one in person for a while, did you guys see a difference in previous conventions that like, did this kind of follow suit? Was it something that like, getting the band back together, was it something more magical because it has been so long, or did you guys see anything different?
I think it was like, for me, it was this kind of the same layout. Like it's that tried and true, a bunch of different classrooms and the schedule and everything. And so that felt very comforting that like post-pandemic, post these virtual conventions that it felt like it was running like it used to. It was great to see everybody. I think I spent more time in the exhibit hall this year than I have in years past. And I felt like there were a lot more people and they were spending more time and coming back through and being really thoughtful about all the setups, which I think is amazing because suppliers put in so much work to get all that stuff up. And it's like walking into that exhibit hall before everything's set up and then like in the middle of it and after, it's just, I don't understand how they do it and all that in that short of time. But Yeah. I don't, what do you think, Louise? Was it kind of the same?
So it was actually my first year too.
Oh, well.
Which, sorry, I thought I mentioned that earlier. And then as she was asking, I was like, oh, she definitely doesn't know. Yeah, it was my first year. However, I will say it was what I expected and more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I expected the exhibitor hall to be amazing, and it was. I expected, um, people to be super friendly, and they were. And I expected the classrooms, which was nice. It was very much college setup, decide if if you're a front row kid or a back row kid, something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I didn't expect was the fluidity of plans. I mean, I know, like, I kind of saw by the second day that a lot of people had signed up for class, but then they were just kind of peeling off to go to the spa, which was
Totally.
adorable. Um, I,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is hard to remember that at the end of the day, it is a work conference. And I think in any
Yeah.
other industry, these people are also like skipping class to hit the bar. And as an instructor, I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. But as a person, I'm like, I mean, I get it. I've
I know,
done
like,
this.
it's a once in a lifetime thing to be at a giant
Yeah,
spa.
and you hear everybody in chatter and like in person and stuff that a lot of the meat of convention or a lot of the draw to it is being in the same room as these people that you only see once a year and like brainstorming and pitching ideas to each other, and sometimes that happens at the bar or at the spa and not in a classroom.
I got super fangirly when I saw you and Bree sitting at the bar at the same time that my husband and I were sitting at the bar. And then I realized how sick you were, and you were like not interested in talking to any human.
I
I
was
was like,
so sick. I'm sorry. I felt so many people came up to me. They were like, why are you in a bad mood? And I was like, I just threw up and pooed my pants at the same time. So that's why I'm in a bad mood.
Can I just tell you that I didn't know that you were sick?
Oh,
And
thank God. I was.
You looked wonderful. I didn't even notice. So.
Thanks, Christine. I was so scared to tell people because I didn't want to be like, hey, everyone, I'm
the one
super
that gets
sick.
everyone sick.
Yes. Like, what if I wiped out the whole convention? So I'd like texted Lisa at Biscuit Ports and was like, hey, I'm going to teach this class. I didn't come all this way to not get paid to teach class. So I'm going to do it. But I just want to let you know I'm struggling. And I just kind of laid low. And yeah, it was a really not fun experience, which is such a bummer because I was so looking forward to like seeing everybody and hanging out. And I missed all the pool time, all the spa time, all the bar time, but that's okay.
That is so rough.
Next year.
So looking forward to next year, what is a class that if you could dream of a class, what class would you attend, Ammie?
I'm going to let Christine go first.
Oh, Christine.
I think looking for, I see a lot of questions on events, and I think having a panel on events would be fantastic. I think we have a lot of people every time I look on Chatter, which is amazing resource for us. If you don't know what Chatter is, it is our Facebook group for CCSA, and it is fabulous. I think that the best part is that you should be able to like have a group of people that have really successful group or events so we can talk about it. That way they can ask questions and they can ask, we can get brainstorm together. And it would be really neat if we literally had a whiteboard that we brainstormed together and then we went through and we shared it with other people or put it up in have it in the beginning of the convention and then put it up or even in the vendors hall. So that way then we can add stuff. And I think that would be kind of neat. I don't know. I just made that up?
Yeah.
I love that idea. I'm literally writing that down. So do you see that just being like a thing that we install somewhere at convention and everyone writes down their ideas for events? Or do you see us having a workshop and sitting down saying, okay, what events do we want to hold? And then how do you do it?
Both. I think it's beneficial to do like a panel. And then what we could do is carry on the panel.
So what if people wrote on the whiteboard the first 2 days and then that panel wasn't until the last day, and then we pull the whiteboard in and we say, okay, let's pick 5 of these and workshop exactly what they should look like in your studio?
So I would do it opposite because that way then they can talk, the panel can talk about things and get your brain rolling. So that way then you can do more. That's how I would.
Yeah, because to me, the layout of an event is always the same. That's how I did it for years in the studio. So I think giving them that formula and then kind of brainstorming ideas after you know how to run one would be really valuable.
I think that the other possible thing that I think would be really neat for a class is I don't know about you, but I get overwhelmed. We want to do it all. And I think that one of the things I learned this holiday season is it's okay to give up control, and it's okay to allow your staff to be successful without you. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things that I had the fear of is that I unfortunately had a manager that opened up another studio. And I think that if we had some way that we could kind of talk about personal stuff that has happened to us, that we still survived. I know that sounds really like traumatic and stuff, but like we had in our business, like we wear our heart on our sleeve, and it's almost like it's okay to get burnt because you're still going to be a successful studio. And I think as somebody that's like my studio is only we're working on 5 years in September. That's a hard lesson that it took to learn. So I think having like open communication on, hey, I'm a studio owner and I have been burned on this and this is how I survived it. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think people need a reminder that like they're not coming. I mean, they're, at the end of the day, they come to paint pottery or they come to do mixed media or whatever your studio offers, but they're coming back because of who you are and what your studio is. And I think when you get in this moment of, I think it's like a scarcity mindset thing. You start thinking like, well, there can't be two of us. There only has to be one of us. And, but I think that's a great idea, Christine.
I love all of what we've said here. I also want to add the fact that when we're teaching these classes at convention, we teach to a broad ability. So we're teaching to a brand new studio owner who has never taught a class, and to someone like you, Christine, who's owned their studio for many years and taught many classes and doesn't have a problem public speaking, and has said, like what you said, Ammie, when we do events, it's the same thing. Well, if you've never done an event,
right.
No same
well, and as Christine was talking, I was thinking the class that I would want to see/teach is how to run a class and like how to get comfortable, and then how to train your staff to run the class, because it is all just formula based and then having to do it and repetition and things like that. But I would also love to see like more of a planning class for our industry. And I think if people have done it over the years, like maybe Jen Meyer or Erin Rasiopi or something have done like planning your year, but I want something where it's like a really actionable class where you're sitting down and this is how you plan a monthly goal and this is how you get it and this is a quarterly goal and things like that. Because I know that I don't take the time to do that. And if I were sitting down held captive in an exhibit hall or whatever, or a classroom or something, forced to do it, I would actually plan for myself and dream and try to get the steps to do it.
So I feel like we're maybe having two of the same conversations. So planning literally your calendar, and then planning like your SOP, like I want to hit this target by this time and I want to do these KPIs to get this result. Is that right? Like, is that two separate things or?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, for me, I'm trying to do it now on my winter break. I'm trying to say, okay, for the month of January, these are my 3 goals. And then this is how I'm going to hit it. And then there's February and all that kind of stuff. But it's hard for me to sit down and do that. And so I want like the actual money goals, or like the steps where I'm going to feel successful. But I also want like a list of things, like a checklist that I need to be looking at monthly for my business, or, things like that, just kind of written down in one place so that I feel like I'm doing it right. Cause when we work alone, we don't often see anybody else. And I know I feel all the time, like I'm not doing this right. Someone needs to come tell me how to do this.
I think that's so insightful. And I also think that coming from a retail background, I worked thrift resale and regular resale for a long time. And we had what was called an SOP, or store operating plan. So you had a goal every single day of how much you should be making. And you had an idea of like, if you made this much, you can spend this much in labor and all this other stuff that someone else formulaically made for us. But there's not that when you're an independent business owner. So it's a bunch of guessing and going like, should I increase my goal? What if I don't hit it? And I'll just be disappointed. Or how do I get that goal?
Right. And I don't want to wait until the end of the year to be like, oh, that sucked. Like, oh, I lost money there and I shouldn't do that again next year. Like, I want to be able to kind of, not necessarily in the moment, but like in the quarter, be able to assess what's happening.
Yeah. Oh, that's really insightful. I love that. I'm learning too much to host this podcast. I'm just sitting here thinking about how great that is.
Christine and I are geniuses, actually.
You really are. This is really good.
And Ammie, I want to talk about you mentioned before to me about your process when you do that kind of stuff, which we are going to probably talk about this later. But I think that is important. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Do you mean my like end of the year review and retreat and stuff? Yeah. So we spend December like in the throes of Christmas. And so I don't get to assess my year until right now. So it's early January. This is when I get to take a second and look back to see like what was profitable and what didn't work and where I can expand and grow and things like that. So I should get back to this. I used to rent an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere and kind of lock myself in there and bring, my QuickBooks and like all the plans for the year and sit down and really assess what worked and what didn't, and then goal set and future plan. And it was such a nice kind of solo retreat for me to like feel it all out. And, at the beginning of the year, you're so hopeful and you're like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds and I'm going to save $1 million. And I find that like tapping into that energy is really valuable around this time. So I've spent the last couple of days kind of lightly doing it. And it's been really nice, just to sit down and write down what you want and try to get it, because then I find that I can be really realistic about like, okay, well, I'm not going to lose 100 pounds. And, it's not that my goals are all weight loss based, but I can say, well, maybe I want to lose 10 pounds, and then I can kind of work that way. I don't know why that's on my mind, but anyway, but a lot of it's money saving or like goals. Like this year, I want to do 6 shop updates. So then I'm going to figure out, work backwards from there, how to do that. I want to save X amount of money. I'm going to work backwards from there to how to do that. So that's a really good, time of year for me. And I really try not to skip it because it's super valuable. And when I'm feeling lost in July, I can go back to my notes from the retreat and be like, oh, this is what I wanted to do, and get back on track.
I love that so much. And I even think that like something like that is a good course, for because we come back with, and I know what you mean, the beginning of the year, I'm the same way. I'm going to be different this year.
Yeah, a whole new person.
But that also is the same energy that comes back from convention.
Totally.
And I've heard so many people talk about that, even when I was there, like, oh yeah, make sure you write all this stuff down, because when you go home, you're going to want to do all this stuff. And I think that it's the same energy and feel that like if you even had a class like that, and you had handouts and you had like all these pretty things for us to like go home and do, or lock us in the room for 2 hours and be like, no, you have to do this. I think
that's such a good idea. Like almost like a packet that's like, what was the favorite thing you learned? Like, how can you implement it? Like, what do you want to do immediately when you get home? What do you want to do in 2 months? Like things like that.
Absolutely. It's just really good because and then not only that is that even after the classes, like we go home or we go back to the hotel, and that we're like either want to go socialize, or you're like, I'm going to sit here and like recharge my batteries because I'm a little like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people out there.
Right.
And I think that like all of it, like when you're at the airport, you can go through and be like, okay, this is what I want to write down. It's just it gets, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
What if at the end of convention, like towards the end, before we're burnt out, but after we've had a couple drinks, we have like, instead of the roundtable discussions that we did this year, we have a big like wrap up where we're like, what are 3 things you're going to do as soon as you get back? What were the best 3 things you all learned? Like, an open review.
I love that, because aren't there roundtables normally themed? And sometimes people get people and sometimes they don't get people. And sometimes people don't. There's a roundtable, maybe Christine's. What
I thought was
overwhelming.
It was overwhelming. It was themed, but there was no one to lead the discussion at each table. So I would have benefited from less tables and a leader at each one saying, this is a topic of conversation and this is where we should go, because we all just sat there looking at each other and being like, yeah, I have events. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, what are the problems? What are the strengths? What are the things,
The beautiful centerpieces of treats at that table is what I decided on. I wanted Nancy's silk screen, or I sat there, or there were stickers there. Like I did not do the correct things, and I was like, but what are you guys talking about over there? And then we only had like 30 seconds. And by that time not really 30 seconds. It was like,
it was 5 minutes. Yeah, it was short.
And the problem is that by the time we introduced everybody, we're like, okay, so what were we talking about? And we're like, okay, next table. And that was
years ago, me and Bree and Julia McNair, we got roped into doing like an improv-y thing. It was like painting based, and I forget what they called it, but we were on the stage kind of leading this event, and people were painting, and it was fun and it was cool. But it was almost like that vibe where there's like, everyone has their tables, but there's someone standing at the front being like, okay, right, here's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, talk about the 3 things that you found most valuable. Like that way, so it's still small in your table, but
this is how we could do the podcast. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay. So we're going to do a live version of the podcast at convention, but your class could be a panel where you guys sit up on the panel and we'll get a couple other guest experts, and then everybody's painting and hanging out and drinking and whatever. And then they just kind of tell us their questions, and y'all can vibe for like 3 minutes about how smart you are. And then we'll move on to the next question. I love that. Yeah.
I think something else that just popped to my head that like, I love the, first off, can we just take a moment and talk about the planning that you humans on the board and everybody do? Like that, it is amazing. And I know that like, it is so hard because like I saw the nervousness of the board member that it was doing the round tables. And it was so like, they did such a good job. They organized all of it. They had all these awesome, like, and that is what is, I think that when we go to convention and we leave those reviews and we do all the things, we forget that this is just a human that's trying to think so broad for all of us. That's amazing. Yeah. We get like, and it's funny because like we I don't think we remember that all the time, that this is just other studio owners that, I mean, we're looking at, I know you're counting, is it 7?
They're often stepping out of their comfort zone. They're not public speakers. They're not planners. You know, they're just doing this because they want to help the industry.
Yeah, they want to help you. They want to help you be more successful, and like they work their tush off. And like the best part is that how many times do you guys go? You go out there twice?
Yeah, we're going. Dina goes years before and like scopes out the place and makes sure it's right, and then we go not next week, the week after, to go set up the room and make sure like we like where the rooms are going to be and like what the convention hall is going to look like and where the silent auction is going to be, and then decide the food and the extracurricular stuff.
All the things. That's so much work that I feel like not everyone knows you guys do.
Yeah. Well, and it's volunteer.
Yeah.
And I think what people forget is that when you go to other major conventions, typically they hire a company to do all of that. We save that money and we volunteer, like you said, to do all that planning. And we are just people running studios. You have to have a studio to be a CCSA member, and you have to be a CCSA member to be on the board. So I have a studio that needs me just as much as Christine's studio does. And I'm still having to go to St. Charles in 2 weeks and pick out the color of a napkin. So it's super fun.
This is, sorry, not to derail, but this is the same place in St. Charles that they've kind of always done it.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a good spot.
Yeah. And it's funny because we get a lot of heat for that too, about like, well, why can't we do it somewhere else? And what I didn't know before I was on the board is that we pick a place and sign a contract to do X amount of things there. So this is our technically last year in this contract. So if you've been before, yes, it's the same. And you're thinking like, I'm kind of burnt on this city. St. Charles and St. Louis.
You don't go out. If you're going out during convention, I feel like you're maybe doing it. Or if you're sightseeing during convention, I don't know how you're finding that time, but yeah, it's a great spot.
But that sort of like flack of like, oh, we've had their food, we've done their thing, whatever. Like you're coming for the class. Hopefully our classes are exciting enough that you want to come to the same place again.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I just, I mean, like I said, before I got into another topic, I just wanted to take a moment and just thank, all the people that have put their time and effort. They're not only are they stepping away from their studio, but they're also stepping away from their families.
Yeah.
Like that is, we go for how many days, and you guys, I mean, usually you're going there for a little bit bigger so that way then you can kind of regroup and everything. But, I just think that reminding people that it's not, you don't just show up. Like these are things that people have done. So, but before I wanted to say that, I wanted to get into, as a new member, or new person that first time I went, it was overwhelming. And I almost think that I'm lucky enough that I was in CCSA for a while, but I know that we had like the new, the first timer like meet and greet.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that like a big brother, big sister situation.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If we had an opportunity where like we signed somebody up, like
like a little buddy.
Yeah, there was people that like came up and they're sitting by themselves, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what do you like?" And Pepper was the same way. It was, I think, Pepper kind of taught.
Yeah, like, Pepper's like the ultimate big sister for this.
Yeah, and that's actually how I met so many people on in CCSA. Is that during COVID, I made a post online, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need a studio mom," and that was actually Pepper stepped up, and she was like, her and Kim, they sent me a message. They're like, "I'm your mom now," and I also had other people that were like, "Hey, we don't know what we're doing either, but we would love to get together and complain about life." Mm-hmm. And we like created this little group called the Tipsy Toddlers, and like we would just during that time, like we would get online and we would drink wine and we would just complain about it, and it was like fabulous. I think.
Is your group still live? Do you still meet?
Yeah, we have a Facebook Messenger, and we actually do. There's like 5 or 6 of us right now in it.
That's and so cute.
Even two of them don't have a studio anymore, and we still it's really fun. I'm very appreciative of that, and I think something like that is like a big brother, big sister kind of setup would be fabulous.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget that a lot of studios can't afford to send like their manager and their husband or whatever, like someone to come with them to something. So I'm sure that keeps a lot of people not going as well because they have to go by themselves. Yeah. That's a great idea, Christine.
That is really great. So would you, like, now that you've gone, would you sign up to be a big sister?
Yeah. I would have signed up to be a big sister before I went.
I don't know what I'm doing. You're coming with me.
Yeah, let's find out together. No, but I think that's what happens is that sometimes that when you do have people that have been in the industry for so many years, we forget that like, oh, this is a new person. And I remember what it was like when we get so excited to meet meet up with people that we haven't seen for years. And I think that would help that kind of like, you're with me now. And I think that also I know it's taboo and we're not supposed to talk about, like, sometimes there's a little bit of cliques in our CCSA. And I think
that's because you know people from so many years.
Yeah.
It's hard to break out of that shell to add a new person.
It's hard to break into that.
I was going to say that too. And if you have a little sister that you're like, oh, this is new blood.
Mm-hmm. This is my buddy. She's coming with me with my friends. Yeah.
That would open up a lot of doors too. So get a book.
I'm sorry to anyone listening.
I'm going to do convention. I'm here for it.
I know. I love this episode just turned into us planning convention. So
yeah,
the board, thank you to the board. And
sorry.
I want to take a production pause and just apologize to anyone listening who's like, why do they keep saying her and little sister? Our industry is 99% female. So there's like Troy and Kent. And that's the only studio owners I can think of off the top of my head that are Matt and Lane. And that's about it. So we don't mean to be exclusionary. We just happen to speak from it being mostly women or non-binary people.
We've also just only been talking about people in their first name. So I think this is a very insider baseball episode that may get skipped by non-members. And sometimes that's okay. But yes, that's a good point.
But it's such good information if you're planning any kind of event to think, okay, I've planned 17 of these. How can I make this better? Well, ask the people that come or the people that teach, like, what do they want? And how do I make that happen? Because a lot of times you can have a million ideas and not know that your customer base wants you to implement that idea. Yeah. Like, I love the idea of a formulaic kind of packet class that you fill out and then the instructor calls you back to touch base on in 6 months and say, have you been doing those KPIs? Have you been following up on yourself and doing the work and that kind of thing? So now that we know that you guys would like that too, it makes it more accessible.
And I think that one of the things that we want, speaking on that production note too, is that, on the other side, this episode is about, if you're on the fence, should I go or should I not go? The best part is that one of the things that I remember someone saying, and it was probably Dina, this is our convention. This is for us in the industry. This is something that if you don't go, you're missing out on, because all this work and all these things that we're putting together is for us. And it's so amazing. And I think that's where we get excited, because we're like, hey, this is an idea. We should do this. They should do that. And the best part is, though, the ideas that we're talking about, the board listens to, and they do what we need. And that is like that, like if you are sitting there meek and you're not speaking up about like a class or something that you would like to do or you would like to hear, you're the only, like, you're missing out. Like you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've like casually mentioned something either like in the Facebook group or to Dina, and she's then called and been like, well, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like there's so much space and willingness to, like, I won't even say improve, but to just like hear what your idea is, you know, and where else are you going to find that?
Well, and that's
this podcast came out of that. This podcast came out of you going, hey, we need a podcast. Hey, we need a podcast. And her going, good luck.
Yeah.
You're right. We do. Have fun.
And I think that's even a testimony to the whole CCSA, is that we are, like, the group is made for us. Mm-hmm. What we need and everything, not just convention, but if you just need to speak up. And like, right now, I think there's a post of like, what kind of speaker would you like to see? If you have one in mind and you're like, no one's going to like that, you're only hurting.
Yeah.
You know,
I know. I submitted my dream speaker, and then I looked up how much it is to have him come and speak. And I was like, well, Dina's going to laugh at that. But, you know.
Who is it? Can you tell us?
Yeah, LeVar Burton. I heard LeVar Burton speak at IYI this past year, which is an Indianapolis-based kids teaching convention. It's for teachers and people who work with children. And I went on a scholarship. It was the most random thing, and he was the keynote speaker, and it was most inspirational, heartwarming. Like, you want to talk about softly crying afterwards. I did not softly cry. It was like active weeping. It was so good.
Nice.
But yeah, then I looked up how much it is to have LeVar Burton come and speak, and I was like, oh, that's
the entire convention cost.
Weird. I keep hearing you say a name and it's not Christine and Amy.
That is weird.
It's so weird.
I know. Good point. And our fee is much lower than LeVar Burton's. My God.
You guys want to be the keynote speaker? Should we do our live?
Absolutely.
As a keynote during lunch?
No one will come, but yes, let's do that.
I really enjoyed. There was a split for me this year where like Kizzer and Bender was the keynote, but they were also during lunch, and I was like, you can't not see the keynote because you have to eat lunch.
Yeah.
But they were really great. I'm not saying that they weren't.
They are great. Yeah. They taught me what a speed bump was. Do you guys know what a speed bump is?
Yeah, where you stop
on the road.
Yeah. No. In your store, like years and years ago, I was like, and it changed my entire life. I love that Christine's like, the thing that you don't run over at full speed.
I was like,
a speed bump in your store. A speed bump in your store, if you have room for it, is something where like you put out a display in the middle of the store and set it up and make it all pretty. And
I've been driving for 17 years, and Christine just told me what a speed bump was.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Amy, I was like, is that like a PA thing? Like, I don't understand. Like, they're yellow, they're on the road. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's so funny.
I'm sorry. I can have good, and then I also have moments like this. This is why it would be a great keynote. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're relatable. We're charming. We're so cute. Yeah. So this podcast is now an official pitch.
I love it. And that speaks to a general theory that like, if you speak in only jargon and you never explain yourself, no one's going to learn anything from you.
Yeah. Louise has said like a million little acronyms today where I'm like, yes, and I don't know what she's talking about, but the KPLMG, HIG, and I'm like, that sounds great. I will check in on that later.
Sorry. You can always tell me pre-K pause and tell me to explain myself, because I'm happy to go backwards and explain myself. All right. So we've talked about convention. We've talked about what we liked. We have suggestions. We've rewritten the path for this convention.
Mm-hmm.
What's left?
Vendors.
What?
We didn't talk about vendors. So I will tell you, as somebody new, and I'm sorry that I just stole that. Somebody new, I walked into the exhibit hall, and they told me, take a few minutes and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like, and it was so cool because like all the people that like you see in that little box, like they're real humans and they really are here to help us. And you can go up to them and ask questions, and you can, and they're like, hi, how are you? Who are you?
Right.
And it's so nice, to take that moment and to get to know. And like, it's the same thing where we get reminded that when we send an email, we're like, I can't even think of, I'm going to make up a ceramic place that ceramics. My order is a week late. What happened? And then we have to remember that these are humans. Like they're like, oh my gosh, let me get this fixed for you real quick. And like, I think meeting people and like having that moment to like actually see, and then when there's certain products that they like, when I went over to, Chesapeake and they had the pencils, I saw them in person and I was like, I need all of these, please. Like, I feel like, I need to collect these. Going over, checking out the stickers, seeing the size of the stickers, for, I believe now.
Seeing Ammie Albis got the biscuit imports.
Yes. Well, I was, and then going over to
seeing it in person, buying all of it. Yeah.
Well, that was just the best part, is that going over to like biscuit imports and seeing like the size, and like it was just amazing to like you see online. And you're like, man, like I'm terrible with measurements. And when I took pictures and like and I held them and I was like, do you think they can catch me if I run with this? I love it. And it's so nice it was just overwhelming. And then the classes were amazing too. I think the
make and takes.
Yeah, that was the play stuff was one of the best things. I know I don't think my 100% made it. But I enjoyed actually like having the forums and doing like, I bought a bunch of the Wally, I think is what they're called, of the GR forums. And that was really, it was just overwhelming, but I learned so much in that like short span of time that I think that, even some of the classes that we did could be set up at the exhibit hall to cut down some of the classes that we did, if that makes sense.
I see. I like as a make and take.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I also really liked the scavenger hunt, the scavenger hunt aspect to it. And I think there is a way to do that again to like help guide newbies or, I think everybody's overwhelmed the second they walk into that place, but just almost having like a checklist that you can go through and be like, each supplier or booth or whatever has something they want you to take a look at, and that goes on the checklist and you can cross it off. I think we're all people that like to cross things off of a checklist, so that could be fun.
I love that. I just wanted to mention the suppliers that we had in this year because there were so many. We had the big hitters, the Gare, Chesapeake, Bisque Imports. We also had Bisque House. We had Scut in, which was a really great, they had such a great display, not only of kilns, but of wheels, which were fun to play on. And then we have the smaller vendors. Now, I can't remember. What is Nell's company's name?
Your Art. No, that's Nancy.
Your Art Desires Nancy.
Yeah.
So then she is For Art's Sake.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Who else though? There were other small vendors on the other side, and I was trying to pull up the guide.
There was, the paint people. Oh God.
There was Art Rave, right?
Art Rave. That's what I'm thinking of. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
There was Fired Up Marketing.
Yes.
There was, that's all I got. Nancy.
Yeah. So there was business. Yeah, there was business. Oh, Michael Harbridge.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There were supplies, business, new things like the Scut wheels. It was great.
Yeah, there's like software stuff too, right? You guys bring in like
Clover? No, maybe.
Art Rave.
Just a part.
Yeah, we really have a list in front of us. Yeah, anyway, to point.
I was trying to find it. I'm trying. It's all good. But yeah, so there's everybody. If there's ever a vendor you want to see, please let the board know. We'll reach out to them if they're already a supplier and tell them they should come. And if they're not already a supplier, we'd love to have them as a supplier. Reach out to them and say, hey, why not? These people love you. Very cool. Yeah. And did you guys catch the Gare booth where they were making that axolotl?
Yeah.
On
I love when they do that.
I love it and I hate it because where is it? I have to have it right now.
Yeah, Robert's so good at that. And like every year that I can remember, he sets up, for people that haven't seen, he sets up like a little station where he's actively carving and hand building these like amazing, I mean, just his mind is crazy. I don't know how he just pulls that out of nowhere, but.
The one we saw was like 17 inches tall. Do you think it'll end up like 11 inches? It'll be
I think from a person who also designs bisque, they can scale down percentage wise. So I think that's what will happen is he goes big to get details and maybe they take it down, but I don't know. I
mean, I would like a 17-inch tall axolotl. I'm not complaining. I'm just, how many can I fit in my kiln at one time is the question.
That's a tall axolotl.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a giant Christmas tree. So that's a big axolotl.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
All right. So that's a lot of So this is the part where I end a meeting with my favorite phrase, which is any other questions, concerns, or corny dad jokes. And Christine beat me to the punch with the corny dad joke.
She really did.
Any other questions or concerns about coming to convention or why you should come or how amazing our live podcast is going to be?
Right. Ammie, as somebody that a first timer, and as somebody that has went a long time, and being a vendor and being like, so as people that are brand new, have not met you, how weird is it that they run up to you and be like, oh my God, I love you?
It's the best.
Okay.
So the first convention I went to, I didn't actually attend. My bosses took me to like walk the exhibit hall and get new colors for the store. So I didn't sit in any classes. This was in Charleston in like 2000, I don't know, 14 or something. It was a long time ago. And, I was walking the exhibit hall and someone came up to me and they were like, oh my God, I love you. And no one had ever done that to me before. And I left and I called the person I was dating at the time and I was like, I think people know who I am. And it was crazy. And it still doesn't get old. So I really enjoy it. And again, this past convention, I was really sick. So I'm sorry if I didn't deliver the way that you wanted me to deliver. But yeah, it's the best. I love meeting new people. And I love watching that happen to other people as well, because we're such a small industry. Like there are superstars in this space that we're always like in awe of. And I love just like being in the same room as them. I mean, and God, Crafty Chica, like you guys ever run into her? She makes you feel like family. It's the best.
She is amazing. And she's so like, when you say nice things to her, she's like, oh, she's so humble. Like it is like, yes, all the.
She's a good person. Like if you are kind of by yourself and you need to sit down with someone during lunch, she's an excellent one at that. But you have to be careful because before you know it, she's out filming like a TikTok and you don't even know she's doing it because she's so good at it. And like you just look over and she's like, so today we're, blah, blah, blah. She's just the best. We got to get her on here.
Yes, please.
We do. If you have that connection, Ammie, please.
Yeah, I'll send her a text. I will get her.
I love that. I love that. Anytime I'm like, Ammie, can we get this person on the podcast? I'm like, I'll text him. Not a problem. Let me call him on my way home from getting
Yeah, I've been in this space for a long time, you guys. Happy to be here.
Can you text Jim Scott because he said yes, and then I can't get him to answer me.
You can't get him? I can email Jim Scott. I don't think we're on texting basis. Yeah, he's such a cutie.
I would love that.
I love him. I love he gets up and starts talking, and next thing you know, you're just like, I think I'm in love with this person. He's just so knowledgeable and.
It is the Silver Fox effect too, but he spoke at Bisque Import Studio Stabby, and he was like, "Oh, I'm terrible at giving this particular speech, but they asked me to do it because so and so's not here. I don't know the name, but someone wasn't there to give the business speech, and he did it, and we all were like, this was the best speech I've ever heard." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I didn't think I was doing a good job, and you guys said I was doing a good job." And like he's so humble, and we were like, "This was amazing."
Were you learned what?
Where I learned KPIs.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I wasn't there, obviously. Were y'all at Makeup Pottery Camp in Houston? San Antonio.
No, that sold out way too fast.
Yeah, it did. He did his thing, but then also brought a blowtorch, and I was like looking around the exhibit hall or the conference room, like, is anybody else just like really into this right now or what? Like him and his knowledge and fire. I was like, okay. Love that.
It is awesome.
All right, so Jim's officially never going to come on because we're just all going to sit there and go, hey,
I will try not to make him uncomfortable, but yeah.
Well, I think that I'm sorry, something just popped in my head. I'm so sorry.
I love it. What's up?
We talked about the pool, but we didn't talk about hanging out with people out of the classes and getting, did anybody go to the pool for when everybody?
I went to the pool, but I missed the night that y'all went and like actually hung out.
Y'all partied.
I was trying to get a cannonball contest started and nobody answered me. And then I saw pictures the next day of everyone at the pool and I was like, oh.
You just got to go down there. Yeah, you got to just go down there.
I can't. I'm not that kind. I need the big sister. I need someone to be like, yes, we are friends. You are coming with us.
Well, and also that place was huge. Like I kept getting lost. So I think, and that's also why St. Charles will be, it's just more intimate.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
did you do the spa, Christine?
I did. Yeah, I got overwhelmed on Monday. And that was the day that I did sneak away a little bit. And it was really nice because it was that I had all this business information and I'm so overloaded. And then I had a moment to like, breathe. Mm-hmm. And that was
so important.
Yeah.
I think you have to schedule that stuff in, if it's not in your written into the day, I think you need to be like, okay, I can take 20 minutes here to like sit alone and think.
Absolutely. I just think that everyone should go to convention. I feel like that's just the main subtitle for this is go. Don't miss out because, you're gonna see people posting about it. You're gonna see friendships building. You're gonna see, if you're friends with someone online, you're gonna see, they're gonna tag other business owners. And it is such an opportunity for you to grow in so many ways. Friendships, business, knowledge, all the things. It is such a good opportunity. And I feel like not going is, yes, there's monetary, you have to, it can hit you in the slow months. It can hit you. But the thing is though, that's why that savings plan is good now. Get it while you can. And it is
use your Christmas money to pay for it.
Absolutely. Don't miss out on this because
I think it's so valuable to bring someone else with you because you will interpret something differently than someone else will. And so I know,
and you'll get overloaded.
Yes. And like Christine's saying, the money is there, but use the plan. Because I know going as a manager was crazy valuable. And I brought back stuff that I feel like my bosses didn't think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is submit your ideas because what you might need, other people might need too. And this is the time, this is the moment that you have to, this is your moment. Just kidding.
And also, if I can interject, as being on the board, if you have an idea for a class, but you really don't want to teach it, but you desperately need someone to teach it, you can always email me. My name is Louise, and that's my email, louise@kilncreations.net. And you can say, I would like to see X class, and I'd love to see Y person teach it if you have someone in mind. And I'll reach out to them. I'll do the hard work of finding who's going to teach the class because that's how we plan these things out. Like Christine mentioned a couple podcasts ago that you wanted a class about how to teach a class. And we've talked about that today. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking in my head, like, who have I seen that taught a really dynamic class who could then teach us how to do that? And that kind of brainstorming can only happen if you say something.
Yep.
And I would be happy to teach a class as long as you don't ever let me see my feedback.
No reviews no longer. I'm taking that back to the board. We have a meeting in 2 weeks and I'm going to tell them the review should be for us, not for the teacher, because they're never constructive.
And if they're good, bring it to me. But if they're not, like,
just show you the good stuff.
There's so many people that are like, I got a really bad review. I'm never doing that again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm terrified.
Maybe it comes down to changing the questions asked on the review. Because I think if you provide feedback that is negative, you should have to say what you would have done instead.
Mm-hmm. And my personal take, I end every single class I teach in my studio with, if you have something nice to say, please leave me a review online. If you have something mean, say it to my face because I can take it. Because I'd rather talk to someone and have them say, you were really unintelligible. You spoke too fast. Oh, I'm so like, I can fix it right then. If you say,
Yeah.
hey, slow down. If
Yeah.
you write it in a comment 3 weeks later, I can't apologize. I can't fix it. I
Yeah.
can't repeat myself. I can't send you my transcript. It's just out there.
And maybe that is also where a class about how to teach a class comes into play, because if you're not taking the moments to check in and say, okay, taking a little break, do you have any questions, or can you hear me, or whatever, things like that, then you miss the opportunity to fix it. Anyway.
So you're saying I do talk too fast?
I don't know. I didn't see your class. I'm sure it was incredible. I'm sure you're not
terrible.
stupid.
Oh, absolutely the worst. Never teaching
there.
And the thing is though, and I think that's where, the other thing about the reviews is that you have to fill it out entirely. Like you have to, like, there's boxes for all of them. And I think what it should, you're forcing people to give you an answer. And if they are tired going through class, they're going to be like, well, wish I wouldn't have wasted my time on this one.
Totally.
And I feel like the other thing is, if you give like stars, I feel like that would be like, if I could just do like how was this really quick, 1 through 10,
5 stars. Yeah.
And what happens is you have the opportunity to be like, if you would like to explain your answers more here, I think that you take away that opportunity for people to be like, I'm tired, I'm over this is my answer.
Yeah, there should be a section at the bottom that says, check this if you're hungover from the gala, so that we can take your feedback with a grain of salt.
And we can add so that's,
I love this. I love that you even talked about this, because it is what's keeping me from ever teaching again, because I literally read them and then I talked to Amy and Amy's like, why'd you read them?
Yeah, don't read them. I mean, I don't know if Dina wants to hear that, but don't. Instructors don't read the feedback, or have a trusted source. I let my girlfriend read them, and she basically says, it was good. Here's a little bit that you could fix. And then that's all I can handle. I can't do that.
As a board member, it'd be so easy for one of us to sit down and read them all and go back to the instructor and say, here's 2 good points. Here's 1 negative point.
Totally.
You can fix.
Totally.
And that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
okay.
you get classes.
Beautiful. Yes, because then you do get repeat teachers who aren't terrified of talking too fast. All right, so we've got a plan.
If you need
for
to talk
lives.
about this, Louise, if you need to delve a little deeper, we can do this.
I don't want to. So thank you guys so much for your time today. If you have questions or concerns about what convention is, please join us online at ccsaonline.com, or you can reach out to any of us through, I don't know, the podcast, the Instagram. You can catch me at my email, which I mentioned, and I'll put in the show notes. I don't mind if everyone emails me. I like emails better than, I don't know, calling me up or anything. And then everyone should come to convention. And if you can't come, you should at least tell us why you're not coming so that we can help. Maybe there's space there for scholarships or something in the future.
And if you need a big sister, call me.
Yes.
Or send me a message, because I'm now your friend and I will be your person. If you need to go to lunch, I will go with you. I will have it'll be my new entourage and not entourage. I will feel super fancy. So do that.
And if you need my girlfriend to read your class feedback and tell you how it is, you can do that.
That's perfect. I love that we've made a little network. Well, thank you, friends. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Who's next week is not free, Catherine from Chesapeake, right?
I don't think so. I
Next
think it's
week
wide
is-
open.
I'm holding you accountable. Have a great life.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Christine Steele. Executive production by Louise Blazucki. Learn more about the CCSA at ccsaonline.com. This podcast is presented by the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Own a ceramic studio and want to amplify your reach? Thinking of opening a contemporary ceramic art space but don't know where to start? The CCSA fosters community within the pottery art space, helping you to grow your business, connect with other owners, share ideas, and learn new avenues for success. Check out all of our member benefits at ccsaonline.com.